However, that does not mean that Star Wars is dead, because Star Wars will never die. That's not something that can happen or will happen. Like, Star Wars has changed and influenced pop culture and the world and me so much that it is impossible to extinguish. You know, the original films, the original 6 films, and the Clone Wars and Legends, you know, have rocked the world. And there's very few things, it's impossible to destroy that legacy. So while I'm not here to tell you Star Wars is dead, or to tell you to not watch any of the new stuff, or to tell you that if you like some of the new stuff that you're a fake fan, I'm not going to be the one telling you that or these things at all. What I'm here to tell you is that if you're walking into every project that Disney makes with hopes in the sky and above, you know, that George Lucas Star Wars or your Star Wars will ever return, I'm here to tell you that will never happen. It's very unfortunate. However, it has occurred. And you must now adapt to the situation. You know, and that's a huge lesson, you know, Star Wars has taught us, is to never crumble when things change. You know, you can't stop the change more than you can stop the suns from setting. And it didn't go the way we want. And there are very few things we can do about it, other than being vocal. So, we got a report today that from a Lucasfilm employee, former Lucasfilm employee, that things will just continue to get worse from here. And that the people inside Lucasfilm are harsh and toxic and horrible, and attack and belittle anyone who doesn't like Disney's products. And they will oust you if you dare say anything against them. So I'm here to tell you that there is no possible way for any true fan to get into Lucasfilm. It just can't happen. Because they're gonna see that the way you do things, the way you make your Star Wars doesn't align with the way they make their Star Wars. And they will probably not approve your project, which is horrible. And that's a dream that I've had forever. However, I'm not letting that dream go. You know, I'm not. And I just can't. I can't. I'm not doing that. My whole goal is to get there and make a difference. That is my whole goal right now. But until then, or until some other person gets in there and makes a difference and changes things, you know, I'd say the old Star Wars is no longer being continued. Again. I've been holding out on making a full video on this topic, but this is the right time. You know, this latest episode of Acolyte, the latest one that came out tonight, episode 4 of Acolyte, just proves that they are so careless about George's story, careless about George's vision, and careless about everything that came before. You know, like including Ki-Adi-Mundi in that show when he looks, you know, barely anything like himself, and having him know about this Sith, not tell the council about it, and then in episode 1 to be the guy to say, well, the Sith have been extinct for a millennia, this is impossible. Like, that doesn't make sense, and that is directly embedded in Phantom Menace. That is directly embedded in it. Like, that's not something that's hard or to decipher. That's a line of dialogue in the actions of a character. Ki-Adi-Mundi is the most stuck-up, by-the-book Jedi there is. And he loves the council. He'd never hide something like that from them. If anything, he'd snitch something to the council. And they decided to make Ki-Adi-Mundi part of this secret Jedi conspiracy to hide the Sith Lord's existence from the High Council. Makes no sense. And my point being is the little things matter. That matters. The thread crap matters. The fact that, Anakin Skywalker is being belittled now matters. The Jedi having stun guns matters. Right? Like, all of this comes into account and builds up and makes you realize how diluted Star Wars has become. We're having the Jedi go around with blasters. Again, basic thing. Look from A New Hope, dude. Like, one of the most iconic moments in Star Wars. Not as clumsy or random as a blaster, right? Like, come on. It's just, it's clearly and objectively trying to rip away from the main idea of Star Wars. And I am not okay with that. And so many of us are not okay with that. And, this has to go through multiple people. It has to go through Dave. It has to go through Kathy. It has to go through Bob. And they all said yes. Which rocks my trust in Dave. Rocks, Kathleen Kennedy should be fired. Bob Iger, he just doesn't care. And everything is money to him. So, he's not actively trying to ruin the brand. He just only cares about money. He's like, well, Kathy, do you think that's going to make money? Because he doesn't know Star Wars. He just wants to make cash at the end of the day. But, again, it's disheartening to have 2 episodes in a row, I guess 4, because it's all been not good, of a show where you're getting clickbaited, you're getting gaslit, and you're getting abused as a fan. That is what this show feels like. And, this has nothing to do with the politics. This has nothing to do with, there being pronouns thrown in my face every single episode. That's not okay. Like, I don't know, that doesn't bother me that much. It's the story. The story is what bothers me most. Whatever your political beliefs are, at the end of the day, you can't control that. Like, it's just wherever the direction of the creator's beliefs are is where the show's going to be. And that is unfortunate, and I wish that wasn't the case. But, yeah, that's just how it goes these days. They can't just take politics, modern day Earth politics out of Star Wars, or any brand for that matter, which is sad. But, I like to see different kinds of people. I'm not here to try to label it as, only one gender is allowed and only one race is allowed. No, Star Wars has never been that way. Look at all the aliens and creatures and, and languages and cultures. That's what makes Star Wars to me. That's literally part of why I love that world, is every planet has its own culture that I can learn about, and its own species and its own pets and creatures and whatever. You know, like this isn't that I don't have an issue with that, and that's never been an issue. It's the fact that we can't write good stories anymore. Like, what happened? Like, it's in our hands now, guys. Like, this Lucasfilm isn't going to make good stories anymore. And it's beyond, you know, the point of having hope in them. The only way for it to change is wiping out, you know, well, I guess that sounds bad. Cleaning out Lucasfilm and rehiring a bunch of new people that know Star Wars and know the brand. That is the only way for it to happen and change. We need to save Star Wars. You cannot rely on Lucasfilm to do it. It's not gonna happen. Again, if you enjoy The Acolyte somehow, if you somehow enjoy The Last Jedi or any of the sequels, or somehow, you know, love Boba Fett, good for you. I'm not here to rain on your parade. I'm not here to rip you down. I'm here to defend George Lucas. That is the whole goal of my channel, is to defend George Lucas and to, you know, talk about the glories of the bajillion Batman creators there are, you know, and just celebrate that. That's what this channel is here for. So, many of us believe that things have to change. Many of us, majority, believe that Star Wars will cease to exist, which, from a certain point of view, it already has. But it physically will not exist anymore if it continues down this path. And our voices are the only ones to have any effect. So, I guess this is a declaration to war. And we have to fight. I didn't want this to happen. This has been in the back of my head forever. I was like, there's going to be a point where there will be a Star Wars war with Lucasfilm. And it's happening. You know, Lucasfilm and those poor brainwashed souls that just give away their opinion in order to go to premieres. I feel bad that they need the validation of premieres to be a Star Wars fan. I do. It's devastating. But yeah, it's happening. And this is war. This is no longer a game. This is no longer a matter of, well, it's okay. This one was bad, the next one will be good. Do you know how many times I've done that? This isn't at all the point of being okay. So how do we fight? How do we make a point? Be loud. Call out when you're being censored. Email Lucasfilm. You trash things when they need to be trashed. You point out good things when they need to be pointed out, and you don't stop. No matter how much they try to block you, blacklist you, or alienate you, you keep going, and you do not stop. This is what I did for the prequels. Back in 2016, I did this exact thing where I was relentless about the prequel trilogy, online, in person, to my cousins, my friends, you name it. I would defend, strike, and things changed. And that is the only way we can save Star Wars. Look at what Luke Skywalker says. Well, not says, but does, you know. He has hope in Darth Vader, the most evil cruel man in the galaxy, from the outside. To me, he wasn't. He was just a poor, broken soul. But to the galaxy, he was the most disgusting, evil man alive that was known. And Luke said, I'm not going to kill you, He gets mad, he cuts his hand off, and he's like, no, I can't kill him, I will bring him back to the light, and I will not lose. I'm not going to give up on my father, right? And he says, I'm a Jedi like my father before me. That exact same deal can be used here. While the pure Star Wars is gone, that is something that I feel is way too late to save. We can't bring back George Lucas level Star Wars. That just cannot happen. But what we can have happen is another Mando Season 2, or another Tales of the Jedi, or, parts of Ahsoka that were just beautiful and amazing. We have things we can work with, and this is down to us and our voices that will change things. This is not... You guys are unaware of how much power we have. That's the thing. I don't think you guys understand. This isn't some political protest that liberals love to throw and wreck the streets and be crazy and effectively do absolutely nothing, in the end. That's not what this is at all. You can't... You're not going to change... You don't have direct impact upon the U.S. government by causing chaos. In fact, it makes you look worse. But we have a ton of power because we're what gets them their money. We're what gets them their statistics. And we're what gets them, where they are in the box office, where they are in the charts, and where they are, with, I guess, other fandoms in general. So if we all band together, like we're doing with Acolyte, and beating the living shit out of it, they will look at that and stop. And look, their numbers might be pretty good, but this feedback, the 15%, that is not good. That is very bad. And that is one of the worst audience scores for a TV show on Rotten Tomatoes. Like, it is really, really, really bad. And that's for a reason. They see everything, too. I know they've seen my stuff. I know they see Theory's stuff. I know they see, all their supporters' stuff. They see it all. That's the thing. Even though my channel is tiny, they see it. I've had weird things happen with my videos in the past, where they'll be perfectly fine with no copyright claims or anything, and then one of my videos will just get struck down randomly, and it'll say that I used the thumbnail, or the image I used is copyrighted. No. That's not a thing. And I dispute them, and then they have to pull away. But they have actively tried to censor me multiple times, and they manipulate YouTube to shift you around in the algorithm so your videos get less views. It's screwed. I'm telling you, they know we are pissed and they are after us, They are very much... Them and the brainwashed, Premiere people. I'm trying to be nice. Because I recorded this video earlier and it was very, very mean. And I was like, that's not the message I want to put across. But that was because I was angry. And I was furious. And I was, in the dark side. I was like Luke attacking Vader. And I was like, that's not the message I want to put out. You know, even that Dave Filoni video I made, I was furious. I was genuinely furious that he has no clue what to do with Star Wars. That was very infuriating to me, you know, and that I probably should have calmed down and redone it, but I felt that they needed an extra slap, to be honest with you. Disney needed an extra slap, so I gave it to them. But it's the censorship piece, it is bad. People are going to try to oust you. I have been called everything, you know, within this fandom and outside of it, having to do with Star Wars. I've been called a shill, I've been called toxic, I've been called, you know, a phobe, I've been called, you know, extreme fan. I've been called, all that crap has been thrown at me, you know. Like, it's not good. There are super toxic channels out there. There are. And I'm not going to sugarcoat that or hide it or, you know, try to be biased to my side. But there are extraordinarily toxic channels out there who plan out their videos reviewing episodes before the episode's even out. And they just say, they record it all before, haven't even seen the episode, and release it. And they just are awful about it. And they really are, some of them really are racist or homophobic in their videos on purpose. That is a thing. But that's a very far minority of channels. That is not a thing. Like, it's very few. There's probably like 3 or 4 of them that I've ever seen in my life that I've been like, wow, I think they should chill. However, there are also bajillions of channels, Clone Wars level of channels, you know, the Grand Army of the Republic level of channels that just, I guess that's not even true. They're just loud as fuck. I guess that's the thing. So they're not actually that many. Because when you look at polls and stuff, the majority of us are like me when it comes to what we believe about Star Wars. Just a lot of us are quiet and don't want to deal with it. And I'm here to be loud and obnoxious about it because that's what needs to happen. Anyways, you know, there's also the other side where there's people who just, you know, call every other fan other than the mega positive ones toxic and make little snarky comments with, you know, they take Star Wars quotes out of context and then they use them against us, which is super low and super disrespectful, you know, to us, because we're really the committed ones. If you're just, you know, again, if you really do like like a lot of stuff, good for you, dude. I'm not here to talk you down. But if you're gonna attack me for disliking things, then we have an issue. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a matter of, oh, well, you know, if he doesn't like this, he's toxic. Or it's not a matter of, if he likes this, he's a fake fan. You know, I'm not either. I'm just with George. George wouldn't want you to go around calling everyone fake fans and bullying them. He wouldn't. That's just not who George is. But he also would want you to call out the crap, you know, too, at the same time. So you have to be somewhere in the middle, you know. I have to be somewhere in the middle in order to not feel like I'm not very sided with anything, you know, politically, you know, friendship-wise, relationship-wise. I'm very in the middle on everything, because, you know, the sides, they lie every time about everything. They just come up with some way to spin the other side's story and make them look bad. Every time, no matter how extreme they are. If they're on a side, they spin things, you know, and this has happened in relationships before for me, and it's weird that how people spin things. So it's the same with Star Wars. You can't just target one side and say they're the problem and just forget about the problems with your own. That's like not good. It's horrible. It really is. You can't just target one side of things and, say they're the problem when, you're the one letting all of this through and supporting it. If we're going on the side of the toxic positivity, but then if you go to toxic negativity, they're like, oh, all those positive people, they're ruining everything. Don't give any money, don't do this. If you like this, you're a fake fan, and blah 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 blah. I sit in my Discord dungeon all day, do nothing with my life, and I don't even really like Star Wars, but I'm gonna call everyone a fake fan, even though I have about 2 Star Wars books in my room, and I haven't seen anything, don't understand the characters, and it has had 0 impact on me in my whole life. Those people also are very problematic, very. And they can't see that they're being too extreme sometimes, and that they go too far sometimes, and that they're disrespectful. It's like the extremism is insane, like within this fandom. It is wild. So people like me, Star Wars Theory. Oh dear Lord. I don't even know. Like, there's so few of us who are, in the middle. And I know a ton of other, people who don't have a platform are in the middle. That's the majority of the, real unbiased fans. They're in the middle, and they don't like, yelling about things because they feel like they're starting to be one of those obnoxious channels. But you have to speak out, because this is the stuff Lucasfilm should see, that we're not all, hating on every little detail of everything and ignoring any positive detail. And we're not just overtly positive on everything and ignoring every negative detail, no matter how big or small. We're just spitting the facts. We're not here to pick a side. We're here to just tell you how it is and have objective proof that things are wrong. Like the Coyote Mundi thing. You can't really justify that. There's absolutely no way. And I'm really looking forward to see how the toxic positives, have an excuse for that. Because they always do. They always make some stupid excuse for everything. They do. And they're always ridiculous, and I can always prove them wrong. And that's crazy. For Acolyte, it's been horrible. I'm going to be honest with you. It's the worst Star Wars show. And I think the second worst Star Wars project, maybe worst Star Wars project we've ever had in the history of Star Wars. I like the holiday special better. I'm going to be honest. That's how my opinion is on it. I think it is horrible. I think it is abysmal. It's a destruction to George's legacy. And it's atrocious. And I've seen the episodes. I'm not one of the people who haven't even seen it and just say it's bad. And that's insane. That's a whole nother level of insane. But yeah, so it's bad. And there's not really a lot that I can be positive about. There just isn't. And I'm not gonna be if there isn't anything. Which for this show, it's just all been garbage. It can look really good, in terms of set design, a lot of the time, or effects, but that's about it. Nothing else really looks great. Nothing, or whatever, you name it. The score is fine. It's not amazing, and it's not terrible. It's in the middle. There's just not really a lot of themes, and it feels more like background music than poetic music that adds to the story. There's a difference. And this feels very much like background music to me from what I've seen so far, which is unfortunate. But I haven't heard a lot of recurring themes. I haven't heard a lot of recurring motifs. There hasn't been a piece that like really has hit me at all. It's just, it's not, I'm not gonna have that stuff on my Star Wars playlist on Apple Music, right? Like, that's just, none of that score is gonna be on there. Which again, wasn't really expecting the show to have a just spectacular, amazing score, but yeah, it wasn't great. But yeah, there's not much to be positive about on this show. But if I'm gonna, like Ahsoka, I've heard people say it's absolute trash, it's horrible, it's the worst thing ever made. And I go, no, it's not. Like, there are negative aspects, okay? There are a decent number of them, and just in terms of just overall production quality can suck with that show sometimes. But that's because Dave, I don't think he's really, he's adjusting the live action, and there's a huge narrative difference. So, yeah, there's definitely a difference in terms of how you make things and stuff. But there are those moments, dude, that just hit you, and that's where, again, that's how classic Star Wars is, it like, except the production quality is at 100%, but I'm saying that Star Wars, George's Star Wars, they have those specific moments that just nail it, like, so perfectly, like the Mustafar / Yoda Palpatine fights in Revenge of the Sith, how it is just flawless the entire time. That is one of the only segments in film that is completely flawless to me. In every aspect, the cinematography, the direction, the acting, the score, the production design, the costuming, the effects, everything melds together and is just perfect for that segment. And it's just like the pacing, the editing, like it's just all perfectly done. Or the binary sunset scene in A New Hope, or the immolation scene from Revenge of the Sith, or the duel in Empire Strikes Back, or the scene with Luke and Yoda's hut where they're first meeting and Yoda reveals himself to be the Grand Master, or Luke firing the shot into the Death Star and blowing up the Death Star during the final battle of A New Hope, Battle of Yavin. The throne room scene, right? Like, there are these very specific moments that are just so iconic. Or the Luke versus Vader duel on Death Star 2, one of the best scenes in cinema, and everything builds up to that point too. All of Star Wars builds up to that one single point, and it hits, right? Or seeing, Anakin's Force Ghost in a Return of the Jedi. And I could go on. It's pretty much an infinite list, but man, like those are what makes Star Wars special. Like, seeing Anakin and Ahsoka in the 4th episode of that series, I lost my mind. I was like, this is not happening. Like, I was shocked. Because we got out of Mando Season 3. That was the last thing we saw. And it was abysmal, right? And we got that, and I'm just going, dude, 180, right? Like, such a 180. And then we see the lesson of live or die that Anakin teaches Ahsoka is a very valuable lesson you can use in your life. There are parts of Disney Star Wars, or the Luke scene in Mando was a riveting experience. Seeing Ahsoka in live action for the first time, or Boba Fett's return in Mando, or the Luke training Grogu scenes in Book of Boba Fett, you know, all of that just they hit you, right? And it just hits really hard. Or the final duel from Kenobi. Like, there are great moments throughout Disney Star Wars, but that's not enough. To save a brand, that is not enough. You have to have overall 90% or above production quality to keep a franchise going. You can't dip below that. And literally none of the projects have had overall production quality, you know, over 90%. Like, none of them. Other than Mando Season 1, Mando Season 2, Tales of the Jedi. Those are the 3 products. I don't count final season of Clone Wars because that's all George's stories. But those 3 things are the only products that have been over 90% overall production quality, you know? And that's not good. That's not a good image. But again, I give it credit where credit is due because that's what's necessary. So I just really wanted to dive deep on that and just be clear. So, yeah, I guess, you know, with that said, I'll give it a nod where I can give it a nod. I will. I'm not going to be one of those stupid rage channels, you know, that's just extremely angry at their lives and they put it all about Star Wars. You know, that's not what I am. And I hope that Dave video didn't seem that way when it did, which is unfortunate, but, you know, I'm still figuring. I just probably should have watched that over before I posted it, but I'll rewatch it and see if I'm gonna leave it probably, just because they really needed a slap in the face for that. You know, Disney, they just did. But I'm here to tell you that just speak up. You know, it's war now. This isn't fun and games and trusting Lucasfilm. This is in your hands, you know, and I feel the responsibility, you know, Theory feels the responsibility. We all do. You know, we have great power so then comes great responsibility, right? We can't just, we have all this power. I mean, Theory especially. And instead of just saying everything's good so he gets, you know, prize boxes and tickets to premieres, he just spits the truth. And sacrifices all of that, which doesn't matter, has no impact for me. You know, he sacrifices all of that for the truth. And that's very respectable, and that's what I do. So it's war, yeah, honestly, Lucasfilm. If there's any employees watching this that I'm sure will try to target and take down, this is war. You know, we're not going to tolerate Star Wars being, you know, train wrecked and destroyed anymore. It's just not happening. It's fan abuse, it's company abuse, and I know you guys aren't great to your employees, and you are selective with who you hire. You only hire certain people for their race, for their gender, and you don't hire people for talent. You just hire who's most famous, who's most well-known, and who has some sort of specific gender identity and whatever that you want. So we're over it, and you guys aren't gonna win. And I just hope you guys see this and you understand that some of us who were way too positive before, you know, have come to realize that that's not gonna flow and work, you know. And the ones who really woke up to, I guess, the reality of the situation and not just looking at one moment from a whole show and saying the show's good, you know, where we really see the bigger picture. All of us do now from Acolyte, because, you know, for me, I've known the whole time, you know, and you guys know that, you know, I really was nailed the truth on situations way back in the day. You guys know. But yeah, it's like we're over it, dude. We are so done. We are so done with BS and crap in this brand. And I'm not gonna let it dissipate and completely disappear from Earth, because I just can't let that happen. That's just, I cannot let that happen. You know, I'm gonna be respectful. I'm gonna be civil, but that does not mean that I will be silent, and that does not mean that I'm not going to initiate a war, which we already have, and it's in full force right now, that we are bombing and attacking and doing, you know, blanket bombing the Acolyte right now when it needs to be, you know? And when it's very clearly, purposefully going against George's vision. You know, that is where, I mean, carpet bombing, I'm an idiot. Yeah, carpet bombing the Acolyte, when it needs to be. So, we stop firing when we don't need to be. You know, we're not just attacking to attack. Some of us, you know, most of us are not attacking to attack. There are those others, but they're them. And then of course there's the other side, but I've gone into that. Ridiculous. Both sides are just full of crazies. Crazy people that have been brainwashed into one way of thinking about things. And again, another major lesson Star Wars really teaches you is to not just look at one side, and to look at both and understand, you know, what's right and wrong about those specific sides. So yeah, so this video is really here to tell you that if you're really hoping for them to majestically get George Lucas Star Wars back, and the Star Wars you grew up with, and the Star Wars that you've known and loved for all these years, if you're expecting that to randomly, magically come back, I'm here to tell you that's never gonna happen. And if you're holding on to hope and being positive, you know, because you just can't let go of the fact that that's, you know, you can't let go of the fact that, you know, it's not happening, then, like, you have to. Like, it's not going to happen. It will never be at the level it was, but we can get it to a very good level, and a level that's super enjoyable, fun, and emotional level. We can, and they did it with Mando, you know? It's very possible. You just have to talk, and you have to be loud. And I've heard disturbing things, you know, that things are going to get worse, and that things will only progress further, you know, in terms of being political and being, you know, just totally separated from George's stuff. I've heard that it's gonna just get worse. So we have to stop it. We have to put an end to it. We gotta just throw everything we can into this fight and win. And that's about all we can do. So I guess, yeah, I don't know, you know, we're not rebels, we're not the Empire. It's a different kind of situation. No, I guess we kind of are the rebels a little bit, but we gotta put a pin in it, because this is just ridiculous, like genuinely insane. So, don't just quit, you know, keep fighting until we win. Even if it takes 10 years, or it takes, you know, selling Star Wars to a different company, then that's what it takes, you know, whatever it takes in the end. And if it means me having to work my way into the company, then I will do it, and that's my goal. So, yeah, you know, from the opening crawl of Revenge of the Sith, war, exclamation mark, and that, you know, we're in the battle for Star Wars right now, so just Keep trudging, keep fighting, keep being noisy, and don't pick a side, because it will ruin you completely. You'll either be ruined into becoming, toxic positive, or you'll be ruined into being a toxic negative, and you'll feel the impact of both. So just don't sell your soul to either side, and just keep trudging as a real, true fan who cares about the brand and who wants it to be better and prosper. And don't make comments about things if you haven't seen them, or maybe if you haven't seen them, know the summary of everything that happened, and look at different reviews from all the audiences and figure it out. If you really don't want to watch it, then at least do that before you go trash something, or before you go say something's great. So that's my advice to you. Yep, I guess the war is here. So like I said, keep fighting. And I'm right along, on the front lines with you guys. So I will see you in the next video. I'm going to be out of town for like a week and a half, so you probably won't see me for a bit. But yeah, that's about all I have to say. So just know we are in a war, and know you have tons of power that you probably didn't even know you have. And every little voice counts. So just keep fighting. Until the next time, may the force be with us all.